What's up, y'all? It's your boy Niner Faithful.
What up, everybody? It's Adam, 49ers Insiders. Hopefully, everyone's having a great Sunday.
We hope everyone had a blessed week. Saturday, bro.
Oh, shit, I'm a day behind. Usually we do the show on Sundays, so
Yeah, I know. So as you
I'm
can
that
see,
excited.
yeah, exactly. As you can see, me and Adam are kind of thrown off today. So we're not going to go into the normal spiel. Today we got deep offensive line and linebackers. I know we said we are going to do D line, but our D line episode will be coming next week because we have a special guest that's a surprise and a secret. But I think this is one that Adam and I both have worked very hard on this, but I think everybody will enjoy this. So we're just going to go ahead and get right back into linebackers. Adam and I were just going in the pre-show meeting right now. We were just kind of going over. Adam, why don't you go ahead and give them your six that you got making it?
I mean, so right now, I like to kind of keep tabs on a projection of a 53-man roster, kind of like a wave by wave, if I said before. Obviously, as we all know, we got the next phase of OTAs coming up on May 20th.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I just simply like to kind of keep track on some of these things. So right now, I got 6 linebackers making it. Obviously, to be Captain Obvious, we got Fred Warner, Quan Alexander. We got Elijah Lee, who had a real solid stretch last season to actually finish out the year, kind of filling in for Reuben Foster, essentially, as we all know what happened with that situation. And then you have Malcolm Smith, who actually restructured his contract to be able to stay pretty much, because I would like to think if he didn't restructure, I'm guessing word was he was probably going to not somehow, I should say, but obviously he was probably not going to wind up making the team. So he figured that would be his best chances to go ahead and do so. And then the last 2 reserve spots, I have David Mayo making it right now. And then I'm blanking out for a moment.
Greenlaw.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good old 5th-round pick, Dre Greenlaw. So, yeah, those are my 6 at the moment. Reason so, I had Enzi Ocha making it before. As we all know, he was a Pro Bowl caliber special teams player for us last year and actually played a good amount of Sam. I'm not going to act like, obviously we played base downs that much, but I thought he, filled in, did a okay job. I'm not quite sure what term to actually use there.
Yeah.
It turns out that I had Enzi Ocha making it instead of David Mayo, but then after doing a little research, it looks like I believe David Mayo has a $1.6 million contract, and if the 49ers were to release him and not trade, then they would take on $1.4 million in dead money. So it sounds like low-key he's pretty much going to be a lock based off his contract. But if the 49ers do trade him, then they have a big fat zero in dead money. So that's always a possibility. So there's that.
I mean, I pretty much agree with you, Adam. You just let me know. I did not know that information about his contract. Yeah, that information pretty much tells me you're not going to essentially take on almost a whole contract dead money. Like that's not going to happen.
Right.
I love Elijah Lee.
My boy.
I love him, and I hope, but I think the Sam Backer. I mean, like you said, Captain Obvious, Fred Warner, and Quan Alexander. All things considered, no injury. That type of. If those are what they call stack backers. Your Mike and your Will.
Exactly.
To me personally, the only position as far as starters are concerned that's in question mark is Sam. And that's kind of, I would give it, like you said, David Mayo, or Nozocha, or Elijah Lee, I think would be the competitors. You got us keeping 6. That's what we kept last year. Of course, we kept 7, but Reuben Foster was on the suspended list, so he didn't count against the roster. So yeah, I mean 6 doesn't sound unreasonable. Me personally, we're gonna, as soon as we're done with linebackers, we'll switch in the O-line, and that's where I start having us making the cuts necessary to take the 7 receivers, the however many backs, the quarterback,
For sure.
because I think we're starting to get into that phase of our roster rebuild where you're going to start seeing numbers dissipate, and I think they might even change during the year. As we all know, injuries happen and things of that nature. So, just because it's our 53 right now, it doesn't mean it'll be our 53, week 17.
Right.
So I think that you're going to start to see the numbers fluctuate. I mean, even something as simple, I don't want to steal thunder from a future show, but something maybe even like only keeping two tight ends. I don't necessarily think that we're going to do that, but you know, that being the idea.
Right. And we'll dive further into the wide receivers and tight
Yeah,
ends eventually.
yeah. But what I wanted to get real quick on linebackers before we go into offensive linemen. Um, I know that in the chat, me and JJ, big shout out to our boy JJ. Hope you're listening, bro. Um,
Ah, boy.
we kind of, I don't want to say an argument, a discussion on. I'm higher on Greenlaw than I think a lot of other people are, and mine is not necessarily just so much film. Mine is look, coming from a group home kid myself, you know, never doubt our motivation. Never doubt somebody doubting you your whole life, and you're not shit. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares about you. And then what kind of motivation that can? Because let's be realistic. Anybody that makes it to this level to even be drafted has talent, has enough talent that's seen on film to make NFL teams draft them. Really, what I think sometimes it boils down to between the players that make it and the players that don't is drive. How much are you willing to work for it? How much are you willing to strive for it? How much do you really want it? You
100%.
know, and so with Greenlaw, I'm not saying that he's going to be a Pro Bowl or even a future starter, but I think sometimes people, they undervalue the backups. And when I say that is, look at Dan Buns. Dan Buns is a perfect example of, yes, here I go again, going back into the 80s and everything like I normally do. But Dan
It's
Buns
allowed.
makes
It's allowed.
well, Dan Buns, especially when you're talking about championship teams. But Dan Buns makes the biggest play in Super Bowl 16. He's the one that made the stop on fourth down to for Cincinnati. So here's a backup linebacker that nobody ever even heard of makes the biggest play besides maybe the catch of
Right.
the '81 season, and a backup linebacker. So I think that to have a linebacker, I actually picked him. We'll go ahead and I'll get yours at the end of the show. But real quick, he was my defensive standout for the year. We kind of had that chat in the group about how the text group about our standout rookies, both offensively and defensively. We had to exclude Nick Bosa, or else everybody would just have picked Bosa. And
Yeah.
Bosa is too easy of a pick to take, and
Yeah. It's Captain Obvious.
you brought up the good point where you're like, okay, well, besides Bosa, who
We
is
only
there
had.
besides Greenwell?
Um, well, throughout
Because
my
Tim
time,
Harris is going to be an IR stash. We both believe that.
yeah, because I think he's going to be way too good to stash on the practice squad. In my own personal opinion, I mean,
Yeah.
it just
Two,
kind of, and he's actually had injury issues in college. To be kind of fair, so that, I mean, to me, that just screams even further of a possible IR stash. And to be honest, we're in the perfect position to do so.
exactly. So,
By the way,
to
what
get
is your expectation of Dre Greenlaw for the season? I think you kind of touched up on it yourself, but you can let the audience know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Dre Greenlaw is
This
going to
season
be
or this
this
upcoming.
season. This upcoming season, I see him being a big special teams uh, special teams player.
That's where
From
he's
what
going to
I've
have to
been
prove
able,
himself, right? That's what it seems like.
yeah, and what I've gotten from just the interviews I've gotten, with former teammates and stuff through YouTube and whatever, is that this man loves to run and hit. And so when you're a linebacker and you love to run and hit, and you're maybe not quite seasoned enough to make an impact on defense, special teams seems the place to go. And what also doesn't get, I think, taught enough about is that everybody talks about the historical low numbers of turnovers last year from the defense. Well, how about special teams? I don't believe that we forced even one turnover on special teams last year. And sometimes those
Mm,
can even be bigger than defensive turnovers because it's such a big swing in field position.
oh yeah,
Sometimes
sometimes
turnovers on the defense are always good because it gets the offense off the field. But
right.
I would dare to say that probably most turnovers that lead directly to points are probably directly off of special teams turnovers.
You know, one guy that kind of comes to mind that I think would agree with us. I think his name is Kyle Williams. I think he would agree.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
That is very, very true. Yeah, some
Very
say like a
costly.
big turnover can actually lead to you going to the Super Bowl and actually winning it all.
Yeah, two of them actually can cost you a championship. Um, exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking Kyle Williams. Anyway, and this is how you can tell me and Adam are really Niner fans because we react like that. So
I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. A special teams turnover. I mean, what else are you gonna really think about?
Yeah. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to my mind.
Well,
So
God bless him though. I hope he's doing all right.
well, God bless him.
I hope he's doing all right. I hope he's not like a functioning alcoholic over that matter. Because I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
like imagine, I mean, straight up. I mean, you don't know the history. Honestly speaking, to be fair, I always like kind of said this at times. There was no guarantee the 49ers would have actually went on to win that game if he didn't fumble.
Yeah, no.
It's not like we're Houdinis and we would have foresaw like, the 49ers would have marched down and got a field goal. Like, we do not know the outcome.
Well, okay, not to get into hockey, too much because this is a football show, but I think for those who pay just our general sports fans, the Sharks won by the Sharks won Game 3 by a goal that shouldn't have counted because it should have been a hand pass.
I saw it. Wasn't there some dirt that happened yesterday while we're on the subject, or the day before? I heard another backdoor happen.
So
another backdoor?
I didn't see one in yesterday's game. There was a couple non-calls, and whatever. Not to get. Basically, the point is that the thing I get from the back and forth I've been doing with Blues fans is that that literally did cost missed call cost them the game. We actually scored on that play. It was overtime, game over. But I think that what Blues fans kind of didn't get is what you just stated right now, which is that, well, if they blow the pay dead, hand pass, take the puck outside the zone. Well, it's not like the Blues would have guaranteed to win. For all you know, we could have, scored a goal off the next faceoff. So, I think as Niner fans, we sometimes like to think, oh, Kyle Williams cost us the fucking championship and we would have won and da-da-da-da-da. Really, well, I think what gets missed in is that overtime was almost over, or at least the first quarter of overtime was over. So obviously we hadn't scored all overtime. And I don't believe we had scored since like the third quarter. I want to say is the last time we scored in that NFC Championship game.
Let's be honest, our offense was horrendous in that game. Let's be honest.
Exactly. The reason we were even in overtime was because of our failure to score points in the overtime. Want to give a big shout out real quick to Die Hard, or Go Hard, my bad, brother. Thanks so much. Been waiting since 4:40 for us to come on live. So we want to say thank you. We do see your comments. Keep them coming, everybody. Keep them calling, everybody. And we definitely see him. Kim is slacking in her macking, so I'm handling the comments right now. So.
Anywho, back on point.
Yeah. So getting to offensive line real quick. Obviously.
Can I make one point really quick?
Yeah, of course.
As far as linebackers go, so here's the thing. So at one point, I'll always remember this going back to the Chiefs game last year when Malcolm Smith finally. So Malcolm Smith, we've been shitting on him for a long time. Let's keep it real. But he relatively had like a healthy season. I want to say he actually played in 13 and 14 games. Well, he missed the first two. And then remember at the end of the season, they were kind of more so trying to play the young guys. Yeah. I think he was healthy enough to actually play. But that's a different story. But he was like relatively healthy for last season. But week 3, when he was actually eligible to play, when he actually was healthy enough to do so, they ran him actually at the Sam and had Warner in the middle and had Will at the weak side linebacker spot. Fast forward stuff, Nziocha kind of handled the Sam. But here's the $1 million question. And not everybody, a lot of people think the 49ers are just going to come out and play the white 9 in every single down, including base. I don't think that's going to happen unless they have a comfortable enough of a lead where they can feel they can go ahead and do so. I still think like the 49ers mantra is, and I understand it's a passing league, but guess what? You still got to stop the run, in my own personal opinion, especially when you first start the game. Take the lead, and then you're able to kind of control the game and the tempo. Obviously speaking, you get enough of a comfortable lead, let's just say 2-possession game, then you're able to kind of peel your ends back a little more, anticipating the pass more. I'm just going to ask you, Do you think the 49ers are going to run with a smaller linebacker like they did last season at times with Malcolm Smith or Elijah Lee, possibly a guy like either Nziocha, maybe David Mayo or something along those lines? Or do you possibly see, even though everybody and their mom thinks that D Ford is going to play the Leo, aka the right defensive end, every single down, they just, because, during the presser, they said that, yeah, he's going to be the Leo.
Yeah.
I don't think they specified. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think they specified saying D Ford is going to be the Leo every single down. So the question is, do you think D Ford might actually line up at the Sam and they'll put Bosa at right end? Or do you think it's a lock? It'll be Ford on one side and base, Bosa on the other side, and they're going to run with the smaller linebacker at the Sam spot?
I think they're going to go the smaller linebacker.
You think they're going to go
I
smaller
think,
linebacker?
yeah, the feeling I got from the press conference, and I'm like you, I would have to go back and watch, but I
I don't think
remember,
they specified the word
I
base.
don't, yeah, I don't think he did either. I think that what they were essentially talking about is, it's third down, it's, the end of a half, what your average
Thank you.
passing situation. I don't think it's out of the question. I'm not saying that I think what we're going to see in the beginning of the season, especially, without knowing, how Kwan is, how ready he's going to be, and everything is, I think they're going to it's going to be a little filling out period because,
It depends on the team. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, once again, the Rams and the Cardinals are going to be in three or four wide
Hmm.
receiver sets essentially all day. So it's a moot point. We're going to be nickel against them. It really doesn't matter. But
And, and even to your point, where I see D Ford playing Sam is, I'm not saying that he's. I was talking about strictly, base in there. Where I see D Ford playing, a little bit of Sam in base is those run, like, let's say it's 3rd and 3, where, you don't know. It could be a pass, it could be a run,
yeah,
and so where you almost see, D Ford in a blitzing linebacker type of role where, his first read would be run, and then once he sees it's not run, okay, let's get after the quarterback.
yeah.
And then you see the other DN maybe being Ronald Blair, maybe a Catavia Street, a Julian Taylor maybe, where maybe necessarily our let's just say our run D line, where you probably, I would think that's where you would have Defoe. I think you would have, I want to say Solly inside, just because I feel that Solomon would be a better run defender. I believe he's a better run defender.
And that's my thing why I think that Ford is, in my own personal opinion, when we come out
Mm-hmm.
against the Bucks, see, the thing is the Bucks too, they don't use a fullback. They actually go a lot of three wide receivers as
Receivers.
well. But let's just say they come out, maybe they'll have the tight end kind of acting like a fullback. That's
Mm-hmm.
why some teams don't carry a fullback for those reasons. They have their tight end actually being used. They actually use their tight end, I should say, I'm sorry, as their fullback. So they don't, in this, essentially need to carry an actual full blown fullback. But here's the thing, I think, my own personal opinion, there's a good chance that D Ford actually is going to play Salmon base. Once again, it depends on the team and the situation, because then you put Bosa at right end, and then next to DeForest Buckner, I think it should be DJ Jones clogging up that middle. My own opinion again, because let's just say you do have Ford on one side and Bosa on the other side, and you'd have DJ Jones next to Buckner, then you're telling me Arik Armstead and Solomon Thomas are both going to be on the bench for that? It just seems like to me you want to get your best front seven out there, and I think putting Ford at Salmon base allows you to do so. Once again, it depends on the fronts and the techniques and all that, and we can get all that and a lot further. But I hope you can kind of hear me out where I'm kind of coming from. Anyways, guys, I think we lost TJ over here for a second. Hopefully he respools up in a moment. But always interesting to talk linebackers. At the end of the day, that's kind of is what it is. And I can also see, too, even though Malcolm Smith ended up restructuring his contract, I don't think that necessarily means that he's a lock. I do not see him being cut. On top of my head, I want to say he restructured his contract to make like $2.7 million at this moment. But if he has having like a strong training camp and looks pretty solid in preseason, who knows if someone ends up dialing up the phone and offers us a little something for him. Obviously, on our end, wanting to keep maybe Elijah Lee instead, but that's that. So then next, Obviously, we're going to dive into offensive line. And that's one of those tricky things. It's kind of tricky because Weston Richburg is going to be out until training camp. At least that was the report. Probably I would say like a couple months ago or so, 2-3 months ago. And then as we know that Laken Tomlinson ended up having off-season surgery as well. I'm not quite 100% if he's going to be out until training camp as well. But that'd be definitely something else to be able to monitor too. But so obviously in the meantime, you can go ahead and look for Mike Person. In my opinion, he's going to go ahead and fill in for Weston Richburg at the center spot. So then you would like to think that Josh Garnett is probably going to go over to the right guard. How's it going, my man?
Okay, sorry about that, y'all.
No worries. I had to hold it down for a second. Pretty much wrapped up linebackers. I moved on to the offensive line, and my last 2 points are that we brought up before. It's going to be interesting because Weston Richburg is going to be out until training camp. As we've talked about before, Laken Tomlinson also had an off-season surgery. I haven't heard literally one peep if he's going to be out until training camp. My gut probably says he won't be, but there'll definitely be something interesting to monitor because I thought things were up in the air as far as who's going to start a right guard spot again. But there was a Sharks game not too long ago in the previous series that the offensive line pretty much picture all on a road together. And Mike Person was essentially lined up at the right guard spot. I was like, well, I guess we know who's going to start at right guard. But in the meantime, he's going to fill in for Weston Richburg at center because he has experience there, in my opinion. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe I should have jumped the gun a little bit. Do you think they're going to keep him at right guard and maybe play somebody at Magnuson to fill in for Richburg in the meantime? Or do you see some – because maybe that's a smarter thing to do instead of doing too much shuffling because what I'm thinking is, like I said, I was like, put Person at center, Josh Garnett at right guard. But it'll be interesting too because what if Tomlinson is out too? Then who's gonna be a left guard instead of leaving Person at right guard? You put Magnuson at center, and let's just say Tomlinson is out, and then you can put Josh Garnett at left guard.
Well, see, so I actually went ahead and in my notes right here, we have something like 17 offensive linemen on the team right now. 1738, right?
Shout out Fetty Wap.
Fetty Wap. Yeah. Anyway.
Baby, can you come my way?
Anyway, this episode of Niner Faithful Radio Karaoke. Anyway, okay, so we have Super Duper Monitor Kim, so she'll be handling all y'all comments. So go ahead and leave your comments, and she'll get the questions y'all have to us.
What is your take on that? Do you want to pre-assume that Laken Tomlinson is out?
Well, see, they had pictures from the Niners Facebook page, and he was participating in the workouts for OTAs.
Who's that?
So, Laken Tomlinson.
That's the thing, though.
And
it was the MCL surgery, right? Because he could be working on upper body.
Upper body. So that is it. I'm not going to say that's, oh, no, he's fine, and everything. I have not heard anything either.
I want to say he's going to be available for OTAs. I don't know if this upcoming phase, but if not, the final mandatory OTA.
Which would be essentially the last practices before training camp starts.
Exactly.
26.
Exactly.
I fully agree with you. My thing about it is to me, I think Josh Garnett is the key to that because you believe that basically who's the better center, Magnuson or Person? Who's the better center, and then also who do you view as a better guard?
Well, there's not that much contact in OTAs too. Well, I mean, there is, but they don't get down and dirty and physical like they would in training camp. So here's the thing: how much of a liability is maybe having Eric Magnuson in at center when there's not that much down and dirty action per se?
True, and my thing about it is that I mean I would think they would put Magnuson in.
That's the thing too. Magnuson. I'll leave out Josh Garnett out of this for a second, but I guess you can kind of throw him in. Magnuson, Josh Garnett, and Sean Coleman, who we gave up a 7th round pick from the Browns. He was a previous starter for the Browns at at a right tackle, and I think he actually did pretty solid. And they slid him over to the left, if I'm not mistaken, and didn't do so hot. But that's how it kind of goes sometimes. But we pretty much have like three unknowns right there, and then you add somebody like Justin Steele, who we just drafted in the 6th round tackle.
He's
So
going to
like the
compete with
bench is
Coleman.
essentially like a bunch of unknowns. That's why I was wanting, and probably a lot of other 49ers people did as well, to take a offensive lineman kind of high. I originally wanted one in the 2nd, if not a 3rd, because I was like, I want Mike Person on the bench because that guy can play center, guard, and tackle.
And
He'll be the
tackle.
first one off the bench. So
And see, my idea with I want to say I have it wrote down right here, but I want to say it was 10 that we kept last year. I say we
10
almost keep
offensive linemen.
10 offensive linemen. I want to say it was last year. I have it written
That
down
sounds kind
nine.
of high. I
Sorry,
don't know.
sorry,
I mean, I'm
nine.
going to
It was
say
nine.
no.
It was nine.
9. Okay. Right now I have
It
8
was nine.
projected on my offensive line.
Same here. And the reason I have the 8 projected is um, you almost sold me on the idea of Josh Garnett being our starting right guard, and with
I still think he's a dark horse candidate.
with the idea of what strengthens the team. Is Mike Person best served to the Niners to be our starting right guard, or is he best served to the Niners being our backup possible emergency tackle because Coleman and School will be battling for the swing tackle
Because why did we sign Mike Person for last year?
depth
Do you remember
guard.
when we signed him? Do you remember
It
when we
was
signed
it
Mike
was it
Person?
was it was right after training camp started, wasn't it?
No. Well, I don't think it was that. I think it was in May,
It
but
was
it
in
was
May.
still after the draft. It was still somebody of like, you know what? This guy has experience. I think it'd be a right thing to do to go ahead and bring him on base. Um, but I'm still saying that Garnett did have the lead, and we essentially signed him for depth. So that's why my brain was going to draft somebody, slide over Mike Person back to the bench. For all we know, maybe Shanahan is holding his breath some that Josh Garnett has more than enough juice to go ahead and beat him out. But I thought last year that Garnett maybe did have the more overall raw power, but I think he trusted Mike Person more with
Yeah,
his assignment and everything and so forth.
because
Um,
of their experience together in Atlanta.
yeah, Mike Person's like what, like 31 probably right
Yeah,
now. I mean, we drafted the guy back in. Did we draft him in 2011 or
20.
2012?
I want to say it was 2011. I want to say it was
Could be
2011.
2011.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you're right.
I'll go ahead and look it up right now. But yeah.
Anyways,
But basically, to me, that Josh Garnett as our starting right guard makes more sense because Mike Person, who if Josh Garnett falters or gets hurt or whatever, was our starting right guard. So you
he
have
was.
a starting caliber right guard as really essentially your swing guard, but preferably right guard. And
Yeah.
then also has the ability to pay up backup center, and then in case something happens to Coleman or School or one of the people compete, whoever wins the swing tackle position, he can be an emergency tackle situation. Because I think what we really want to avoid is as much as we loved Mike Lynch for it, and you can tell he's a real football player and a real man for doing it. I don't want Mike McGlinchey playing guard at all this year.
Oh my God. That was horrible.
Yeah,
Not
love
his
him for
fault.
doing. He did a decent job, for the first time he ever played the
I love
position.
how everybody kind of forgets that. And to be honestly speaking, I'm glad we kind of brought this up because I want to throw our good old boy, who's going to have a sweet bounce back season, even though he didn't obviously tear it up the whole season in 2017. But why is everybody forgetting Hurt and Jimmy 3 starts?
I
I
think
mean, I'm just saying. Does anybody bring that up? Like everybody was bringing up, like, like you might have missed a couple throws. They were a little here, a little there, yada yada. Obviously, like they pretty much were acting like the offensive line was essentially fully healthy as well. And you got to give them credit that they were actually playing hurt, and guys were banged up. Like, how do you expect them to hold up a strong? How do you expect to stop a strong pass rush? I do not care if those teams didn't have as strong of a pass rush overall, but they were still playing hurt, which is the reason obviously Jimmy was getting kind of knocked down a lot. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily
yeah.
these guys were all trash. They were hurt.
So we drafted him in 2011, and he's 30.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, exactly, and also we touched on this a little bit last week too, is that we touched a little bit on this last week, that sometimes it's not who's the best offensive lineman, who are the best five. It's who's the best unit. So Josh Garnett could be a better guard, but
Right.
for whatever reason, you know, Mike McGlinchey plays better with Mike Person. Maybe because of the experience. And let's
It's
not
a
let's
zone
not
scheme. That's the thing about zone.
yeah. And let's not get into the fact of that. Even though nobody said it, I want to give props to Mike Person last year, because I think Mike Person and the veteran leadership he brought and experience he brought last year is one of the reasons why Mike McGlinchey had such a good season.
Yeah.
Because he had that veteran presence next to him, that he was able to say, okay, if I mess up, or you know he just had that
I'm
rock
sure
next to
Perkins
him.
better at communicating and so forth.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? He was definitely, obviously, due to his experience at tackle too. And once again, he started at guard, but he also has tackle experience as well. I'm sure everybody knows, it's well documented that Joe Staley was essentially the big brother for Big Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Mike Person played definitely a role. Like, just because you don't have to be a great tackle in order to be able to teach playing tackle, to be honest with you. I mean, we see it in coaching all the time. And a lot of times it comes down to the guys who couldn't make it as legit players, or maybe they just had like like a depth type of position. Like the best coaches, I always think about like NBA kind of guys and stuff at times. Those guys make the best coaches. You think Phil Jackson was an all-star NBA player?
No,
You think
I
Pat
don't even
Riley
know where
was
he
an
played in
all-star
his
NBA
career.
player? No, they were not.
Look at John Madden.
Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr was a decent player. He was a star.
Oh no, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I threw out all-star
And I
caliber.
almost expect it's because when you're let's just say not the most talented person, what do you rely on most? See, most people rely on talent. They're bigger. Exactly. You rely on the mental game and
IQ.
technique.
And that's when you don't need as much speed at times. You don't
Exactly.
need angles and all that.
And so you'll almost see that you'll almost see. Okay, hold on. We have a question from Go Hard. Hold on, let me pull up the question.
How hard are you going,
what,
Go Hard? That's what I want to know.
how hard are you going, Go Hard?
What are you on right now? Warriors are about to play at 6 o'clock.
He wants to know what our thoughts on Pita T are, because Pita is actually listed as a linebacker.
Great question. I mean, it's been well documented. The Sam, well, that's the thing too. The 4-3 under originally, the Sam and the Leo are supposed to be interchangeable, but as we all know, teams can utilize the Sam in different ways. So to me, Pita's an edge rusher and Sam in some packages. But I don't know if you want to touch base on it first, or if you want to attack it, because I do have something to say about that.
Yeah. Pita T, I think it'd be difficult for him to get stashed on the practice squad this year. That's kind of essentially what happened with him.
If you don't mind doing so, let me go ahead and bring this up. As we all know, Cassius Marsh, Dakota Watson, and DeMontre Moore all got the boot. And I said it the other day, this is great news about Pita T, because right now it seems like he's locked in that number 4 edge rushing spot. And I actually believe we're probably going to move a defensive tackle / big end, whatever, like a bigger guy, not an edge rusher essentially. So Pita T, so right now I got 10 defensive linemen / whatever, defensive line / edge rushers on my 53 right now. Pita T is not on it, but I only have 3 edge rushers, and we all know Blair's kind of like a tweener, but it seems like Pita T is locked in that number 4 spot. I think that's really good news that they got they got rid of 3 edge rushers. I think it's really a promising sign for Pita T.
Yeah. We'll get into Pita T a little bit more next week because like you said, I think we're both essentially mostly looking at him as an edge.
Yeah.
So we'll get into him a little bit next week to get into why he hasn't stayed playing time. Just to answer at least the question that I think we can answer is honestly quite short and simply. I think there were just players that were better than him above the depth chart. I think they saw more out of Cassius Morris and more out of Dakota Watson.
They were just more ready. I don't know if everyone's heard the story about Pita T, which I don't know, probably a reason why I'm rooting for the guy so damn hard. That guy didn't even know what football even was until he was like 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah, it was crazy.
if I can get the story back right. And he still managed to work his way up and get a full ride scholarship to Utah, show some great ability there. Long story short, he needed more experience.
Yeah.
He needed the repetitions. He needed to learn, you know what I mean, how to get it done at the NFL level. Because we all know at college, how many guys we heard about getting the job done based off their natural God-given ability. So that's another reason why I've always been like, man, this guy right here, I've just had that funny feeling that just more time. I threw some gifts on him lately. Another point to bring up, Ron Blair is going to be unrestricted free agent after this year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just praying that Peter T is going to be that guy, hopefully for 2020, maybe this upcoming season. You don't know how shit is going to go, that he's going to be the main rotating edge rusher. We can only hope, right?
Yeah, I think that pretty much to finish this question, and we'll get into more, and we'll get our
Great
special.
question. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Go Hard. I think that we'll our special guest. We'll save that for our special guest, and I think he'll be able to get into more detail about it. So
we're gonna go hard for you, though. Go hard. We're gonna go hard.
Yeah, we're gonna go hard.
If
By the
somebody
way,
can bet on this, we go hard.
Hey, Adam. Just real quick, we have connections to the afterlife. We have Bob Marley who said hello to us.
Bob Marley again?
Yeah.
So can we get Go Hard and Bob Marley together on the same camera? Is there any way we can make that happen?
Yeah. Go hard and Bob Marley. I mean, that would be the greatest.
I want to party with these guys right now.
Right now, not right now. Right meow.
Right meow. Or in 15 minutes, the game's about to kick off.
Exactly. So.
What's up, Bob Marley?
What's up, Bob Marley? Want to let you know I've been a huge fan of your music ever since I was about like 2 years old. Actually, the reason my daughter's nickname is Jammin' is because of Bob Marley's song.
No way.
Yeah, she used to, when she was a little girl, I would go, we're jamming, we're jamming, and she would bounce up and down, and so that's why I nicknamed her Jammin'. But anyway,
I don't know.
There you go. But to get into wrap up on O-Lineman, who do you have on your final roster?
So let's just go through my head. Joe Staley, Laken Tomlinson, Weston Richburg, Mike Person, Mike McGlinchey. And then I got Sean Coleman, even though he's a big mystery. I think we gave up the 7th for a reason. I think he's just being seasoned behind the scenes. I got him as a 6th. I got Justin Skule making it right now.
Really?
On the feeling of he also might be too good of a guy to actually place on the practice squad. And I know it's a super duper premature. I mean, the guy can end up being cut for all I know.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, I was apparently a big idiot. And then obviously Josh Garnett. Those are my 3 right now. And then part of me was like, man, do I take out somebody like Skule and throw in somebody like Magnuson who can also play center and guard and tackle, even though he filled in that tackle a couple times and didn't do so hot.
I think it was
an interior kind of guy, in my opinion. Yeah. So those are the guys I got. I got 2 tackles and Josh Garnett. And obviously, if something happens to Richburg, person can always do there. And in an emergency, if you really need a 3rd center, and that's why I went back and forth and I stuck with my guns with these. In an emergency, I think Josh Garnett can fill in that center. Not saying that he'd be good at it, but I would like to say that we're going to have him ready for that possible situation.
Yeah.
If the cards unfold this way.
I'll give you, basically, I agree with you, except I think Magnuson makes it.
Instead
I think of Coleman or Skule.
Instead of Coleman?
One of those. I think that Coleman will make it. I'm with you. I think Justin Skule will be a possible.
He could be a stash guy.
I'm not gonna say necessarily stash. I think we'll be able to squeeze him through the practice. I think we'll be able to squeeze him on the park. This before OTAs, before haven't even watched the
Dude, you know what I think about now though with guys like that? I think about like, Kyle Shanahan really likes him. Kyle Shanahan is going to groom him with, like, obviously, if you're another team that runs a zone offensive line, and say you have an injured offensive tackle, that's what I think about. Meaning, like, if you're a good offensive team, you're probably going to look at those bottom of the barrel guys who are bottom of the barrel essentially for that team. But you might be like, man, I could possibly get a gem over here from a guy that Kyle Shanahan liked, and he already has some experience for something that I kind of do similarly. Let's just bring out, for example, Sean McVay. What happens well, this is going to be Andrew Whitworth's last year.
Here.
You know what I mean? Like, what happens if they end up needing somehow training camp, someone goes down, maybe they're like, oh, we need more depth. I should say training camp. I'm sorry. Let's just go after 53-man cuts.
Yeah.
But let's just say he is cut and they try to stash him on the practice squad. Dude can get claimed, and like, you might have another Mike Person situation.
Yeah, no, you could, and that's why I think it'll be between him and Coleman.
It could be.
I'll take
Only one
Coleman
tackle
just
bench.
because the knock that I shouldn't say the knock. What I heard from John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan is that he gets the job done. It's not also It's not always pretty, but he gets the job done.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
School. When they drafted him.
By the way, is it pronounced school or skill?
I heard it pronounced school.
Okay.
That's how I heard it pronounced.
I mean,
so I'm just,
so with a U. That's why I'm like.
So yeah, that's what I thought. But so we'll just say Justin. So
Justin S.
Justin S. So I think to me that sounds like a developmental guy. That that they're kind of.
It can't be Sean Coleman or Skill, in my opinion, because you can't get rid of Coleman, in my opinion, once again, because you can't have a rookie being a freaking swing tackle, right? Did you hear me, TJ?
Yeah, I got you, brother.
Oh, cool. No, I was just saying. I said you. I don't think that the reason why I think they both might make it is because simply due to the fact that, let's just say, if Coleman doesn't make it, you can't rely on a rookie to be the swing tackle, can you?
I mean, no, and that's why. But see, that's where Magnuson comes in. And I'm not saying necessarily that I'm with you. I don't think that Magnuson's a tackle.
No, I mean,
and I don't want him to depend on being my swing tackle. And so maybe that's why both of them make it. And Magnuson's just, Magnuson is the expendable one because he can't play tackle. So, I think that we'll see it. Like I said, this is before we've even watched even an OTA practice, let alone training camp with pads or anything like that. So,
right. That's part of the fun, kind of projecting how stuff will be.
So since we're not going to make this a full episode, we'll go ahead and we'll get into we'll touch on returners and a little special teams, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here pretty quickly. So me personally, I'm with, if he can hold on to the ball, and this will of course affect the receiver room as well. But if he can hold on to the ball, I think our returner is Richie James. I mean, to me, he gives us the most. I don't want Deebo Samuel being a returner.
Hold on. I think he just dropped a hint.
Yeah.
So does that mean you have Richie James making a 53?
I'm leaning towards it. I'm really still torn. What it is, I'm really torn between Trent Taylor and his connection with Jimmy G. Cool. And let's not forget his eliteness on slant routes. He was an elite third down slant catcher.
He's got that IQ too, like Wes Welker, I think.
Yeah, and I think that Wes Welker,
not that he is going to be Wes Welker,
I believe will do wonders for Trent Taylor. Not only his career as far as being a better receiver, but also how to play in the NFL, being such a small receiver.
I got both guys making it right now. I actually took out Jordan Matthews. There's only like a $200,000, I believe, dead money if you cut him. I just think they're going to go with the potential of this current core, the younger guys, and and their ability to get separation, essentially. So I took out Matthews, and Trent Taylor's back on board for me.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So essentially, what I'm really torn is because I'm essentially looking at Trent Taylor and Richie James as this, not the same player, because I believe Richie James is way more explosive, but almost as the smaller slot receiver, that type of role.
Yeah,
and
we talked about it last week a little bit, right?
Yeah. We talked about it last week, but essentially, if Richie James can hold on to the football, and maybe it does go down to Jordan Matthews, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was cut. I honestly do believe, if I'm wrong about any receiver, I do believe it will be Matthews.
I think it'll be Matthews.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, I have him making the 53. But if I'm wrong about any player, I believe it's going to be.
You got to understand this too. If shit is a little close, you're always going to go obviously with the younger guy, and you got to have trust in their ceiling. They're not made products. But I think you're all right. I think it will come down to Richie James because I think he's also a guy. I hate to say this, that you can afford to get injured. You know, in a Madden kind of world, hey, let's have Marquise Goodwin in his 4.27 speed be the punt and kick returner. Or if not, you have him being the kick returner. You have somebody like Dante Pettis or Debo Samuel be the punt returners. But in my opinion, I think those three guys are just kind of too important to risk, in my opinion. And then you think about Trent Taylor. If he's looking good at wide receiver, I just thought about it right now. Do you have him on punt returns when he can possibly have some type of injury? He just takes a huge shot, maybe from behind and hurts his back or some shit like that. Like, I'd be hesitant to do that. So who would be the punt returner? That's up for debate, but I think you're definitely right.
I'll tell you one thing,
but you know what I love about Trent Taylor is he's sure-handed. You know, he's the guy you feel good about.
Yeah, he does. I feel very secure with. I don't feel like he's going to take it to the house, but I feel like he's at least going to hold on to the football. You know, so Richie James, I was there. I was essentially he was going the same direction as me. So I was essentially facing the end zone that he was standing in. That touchdown against Seattle, the run back against Seattle.
He was running towards your face?
No, he was running away from me. So I was looking at essentially at his back, and I mean he was gone. I mean that happened.
Sub 4.4 guy or 4.4.
Yeah, he went around that corner, and it was pretty much beat Janikowski, and it was over.
I wonder how much experience he has on punt returns, because another thing that, a couple people have brought up, obviously he's done it before. Raheem Mostert also has 4.4 speed, and he also has the thickness of running back. He could be a nice kick return candidate, and maybe have somebody like Richie James on punt returns.
Yeah. So
maybe that's a possibility.
I essentially think it's but I'll tell you one thing. One person who's not going to be handling punts or kickoffs, and because he got hurt, is they're not going to have Dante Pettis. You will not see Dante Pettis line up for a punt return this year at all.
Honestly speaking, yeah, maybe not until like 2020, because he's a dynamic punt returner. I think I'm not saying
really
is.
I mean, we have a lot of.
That guy was insane at college on punt returns. Yeah. But once again, he's just too important to this offense this coming year, especially in a crucial. Maybe, you know what? I could see this. Hey, we really need let's just say we're down by a touchdown or something along those lines.
Yeah.
You know what? At this point, we're trying to win games. And maybe you do kind of risk that when you seriously need like a big play. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely. Because, I mean, let's essentially go in, and we'll wrap up after this. I make this point real quick. He's essentially our number one receiver. I mean, I go into it. I say that who's our number one, 12 targets a game. I believe at this moment
he's going to line up at the Z. He's going to be the number one. He's going to line up where the number one wide receiver goes, in my opinion. But another thing to bring up, what did your gut instinct about Robbie Gould? Does he suit up or not?
Yeah, I wanted to get in that too. I think they force him. I don't think he signs long term. I think this is his last year.
You think he shows up like in preseason and signs his contract and says, what? Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. Something like that.
I think if the Niners look at him and say, okay, Robbie, you don't want to be here long term, and because they came out and pretty much said we're not trading you. Yeah, they've came out and said we're not trading you. So if
it would have happened, I believe it would have happened at the draft, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I do too, and I think he was shopped at the draft, and nobody, because essentially, let's be realistic. We all know he wasn't going to be traded because everybody knows that he won't sign long term because he wants to go to Chicago.
And this is the only team year too for the 49ers.
Exactly, and we know that, and teams know that, so they're not going to, trade for a player that's not going to want to sign long term. And Chicago knows that, so they're going to be like, hey, why would we trade for him when we could just wait till next year and sign him for whatever we want?
Or Chicago called and offered a 7th. The 49ers were like
no. Yeah, I think that's what it was. They were probably like, hey, we'll go ahead and give you a 7th or a 6th, whatever. And they were like, no, we might as well just keep him.
The juice was not worth the squeeze, probably.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. All right, well, before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and make the normal spiels. Get your Niner questions to Adam and I. Go ahead and hit me up at NinerFaithfulRadio@gmail.com, or go ahead and hit up Adam on Twitter at 49ers Insiders. Go ahead and participate in our weekly poll on Twitter at NinerFaithfulR or 49ers Insiders, and Facebook at Niner Faithful Radio, and win a chance to get this nice, sexy draft day towel from the Niners draft day party. I was there. I went and got these towels.
Nice.
We're trying to monetize our YouTube, so make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. As soon as we get to 4,200 watch minutes and 1,200 subscribers, we will give a ticket away for a Niner game. a invitation to Empire Row for a tailgate, and also get a ticket for the Niner Museum. Shop NinerFaithfulRadio.com for your official licensed gear from Amazon, 49ershop.com, NFLshop.com, and Fanatics.com. Also, officially announced today, we have our Niner Faithful Radio t-shirts and tank tops available on Niner Faithful Radio Shop. Go ahead and enter the promo code t-shirt. That's a T, no dash or anything, just all one word, t-shirt. For 20% off, you'll get the t-shirts for $20. That money does not go in Adam and I's pocket. That money goes straight to the show. That gets for better Wi-Fi, so the show isn't cutting out. Better t-shirts, better microphones, all that type of stuff.
And for extra 25 cents, I will on live YouTube go ahead and actually get the shirt all super drenched, so I can essentially have a wet t-shirt for you guys.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Go ahead and join our Patreon's reward program. We actually did get our first Patreon subscriber yesterday, so we'd like to say thank you so much. For as little as $1 a month, you can get special perks like 10% off of Niner Faithful Radio Shop, monthly giveaways, and invite to join Adam and I in the segment of Niner Faithful Radio, and much more. Go ahead and visit the comment. Go ahead and visit www.patreon.com/Niner Faithful Radio. The websites are all posted in the comments and on the live chat. Go to SeatGiant.com. Use the promo code Niner Faithful Radio to save on all your ticket purchases. Like the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Instagram is Niner Faithful Radio. Twitter's Niner Faithful R. Adam is at 49ers Insiders. Visit NinerFaithfulRadio.com to read all our blogs from Nothing But Niners and Sports Elite. Get the show notes for today's show, and also see our sponsorship and advertising packages. If you're listening as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Google Music, Podcast, Stitcher, Spreaker, Blueberry, or TuneIn, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. It really helps the show out. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell and hit the like button. That's going to help the channel grow. I already said use the promo code t-shirt. Anything else you want to add, Adam?
Other than that, best of luck to all the Warriors fans and the actual Warriors organization. And as you said, we're going to have a nice little show next week with a special ex-49ers. Can we drop a hint as far as what position?
He really hates Seattle.
He really hates Seattle.
He's a obviously defensive lineman.
Okay.
He's obviously we're talking D-line, so that's pretty obvious. He's a defensive lineman, and if you know your Niner history, you'll know who this is, because he really hates sleazy. So I think that would kind of be the biggest hint that I think people should get it after that. If you follow the show or Adam and I on Twitter, you'll see the tweet that I sent to him. So the information's out there if you really want to look up and see who it is. You can figure it out.
We're excited to have him. He has, he's been working with the 49ers again, or covering the 49ers in some capacity. So that's the best hint I can give you. But I'm excited to have him to ask some questions about our actual defensive line and some of the personnel involved in it.
Of course, this is he's a really cool dude. I've talked to him at tailgates last year and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward to having him on. This is the first player we're getting on the show. So it's awesome. It's been a lot of hard work over the last 2 years. But so for Super Duper moderator Kim, for Adam and myself, I would like to say thank you for listening. We shall see y'all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Till then, we're going to go ahead and say faith, love, and happiness. Go Niners.